Dear listeners, in this video, you will find 3 short but very interesting stories. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your impressions in the comments. And here we go. It's incredibly challenging to express all of this. This isn't merely a tale, it's my existence. Indeed, it can be separated into 2 segments, so to speak, into before and after. Prior to that, there was a joyful life and a blissful childhood, entirely in a thriving, affectionate, although not a wealthy household. Following that, there was the military, education, and then encountering my future spouse and establishing my own family, and also a great deal of joy. We acquired a 3-bedroom flat, gave birth to 2 girls. My career was soaring, and our bond was, to put it mildly, a pure fantasy. And even then, I couldn't even permit the notion of something terrible. I trusted in my family so deeply and adored it that there simply could not be any negative thoughts. And then something occurred that altered my life, after which everything plummeted into a cursed abyss. A commonplace life situation happened, but with grave repercussions. It was one of the stormy evenings, poor visibility, and inadequate traction with the road. There was a mishap through my fault. I survived, but unfortunately fell into a coma. I read something comparable once in one of the books, but I grasped the significance of what was written only when I underwent it all myself, and I returned, but it feels like I never managed to come back. As if I awoke in another foreign, surreal realm. It was as if it were a mockery, a parody of my world, the realm in which everything was entirely the opposite. Everything was the reverse of how it was in my domain. Where in my realm there was good, in this realm it was evil. After nearly a year, I emerged from the coma, but what I witnessed shattered me. And now the most arduous part is the depiction of my new existence, of everything that I saw when I came out of the coma. My wife has another one. She is expecting by him. The wife's paramour is my colleague, a colleague from my work, and the most comical thing is a former friend. The oldest daughter fled from home and resides with some guy. The younger one has immense problems with her psyche, issues at school, and in relations with her mother. The relationship with her mother is just gloom and an abyss. This is the scene I saw when I emerged from the coma. Of course, I didn't discover everything right away. For a long time, about a month and a half, everyone concealed everything from me and carefully devised excuses why my family does not visit me and why I cannot get through to any of them. The truth was a dreadful blow to me. What now, after 2.5 years, I live an almost complete life, as much as I can. I found my eldest daughter and restored our relationship with her. And what my daughter told me was no less difficult than what I learned in the hospital. I also enhanced my relationship with the younger one, and I'm still fighting for every encounter with her. Literally playing games with my ex-wife for every meeting with my daughter. And in general, trying to somehow live with all this. And now the specifics. The wife's lover, fortunately, is no longer alive, and this is also a distinct, difficult story. My ex-wife, at that time we had not yet divorced and were in the midst of a divorce, resided with her lover together in our house. The eldest daughter, as I have already said, lived with her boyfriend. Let's now call him a son-in-law. At that time, I was in the hospital, already awoken from the coma. My wife, with the police, took the youngest daughter from the eldest, despite the fact that she cried, then shouted, and did not want to leave. She told her sister not to give her away. Neither the help of all my relatives nor all my friends helped, or rather, those who remained of them. By the way, the wife discovered that the daughter was at their house from a neighbor's friend. So that's how we live. However, there are also positive moments. For example, like the daughter's wedding. The son-in-law turned out to be a very good guy and did a lot for all of us. He is a medic, recently graduated from the institute, and now works in a state hospital. They are in a commercial one, which I think deserves respect. The youngest is finishing school and preparing to enter. To my great regret, all the experiences for the younger daughter did not pass without a trace. The blow to her psyche was huge, just colossal. The relationship with her mother is disgusting, and there have already been attempts to run away. It all ended in an amazing way, I would say. The daughter was returned by the police, and they wrote a statement against me. Suddenly, yes. However, even the police were surprised by this, having learned the whole history of our family. This is my life story, so to speak. Crashed in paradise and woke up in hell. I still can't understand why and how everything could change like this and turn into this. I still don't know what for and why my wife hates me and why she betrayed me. But I have to live with all this. Married for 7 years with a 5-year-old child, the family bond is excellent, with absolute faith in the spouse. There were no doubts whatsoever. I remained faithful myself. Opportunities arose, but no, family comes first, and it's always been that way. We own a country home that I can't always visit due to work, but my wife, both prior to and following the marriage, always went there when she could. Naturally, there were no suspicions that my wife might go elsewhere instead of the country house. Again, the relationship has always been perfect. She greeted me from work. I always anticipated her. Always consulted about what to purchase and do. She also has a job. Sometimes we met each other from work. Also, complete understanding and attention to her. Presents, bouquets, and so forth. This New Year's, she expresses a desire to celebrate at the country house. I have no objections, but at the last minute, I'm dispatched to another city for a 5-day business trip. Just December 31st to January 4th, but with full compensation and only returning to work on the 15th. I inform my wife. She was disappointed, obviously, but says if you can't go, then I'll spend New Year's with my girlfriends. I don't mind, naturally. I couldn't even imagine then that another man could embrace her, let alone more. Okay, New Year's passed, the May holidays passed, June arrives. I don't even know how to describe how I discovered it. I found out by chance, as if the Almighty himself chose to enlighten me about my wife's unfaithfulness. I'm driving around the city when I suddenly get really thirsty. I notice a store, I pull over, I get out. I'm walking, when suddenly from behind, "Hey, Alex, is that you?" I look, the face is familiar, but I can't place it. "And who are you?" I inquire. "It's me, your classmate Nick." And then joy embraces. Haven't seen each other in 13 years. One topic led to another, we see each other very rarely. We don't interact much with each other and classmates in general. Blah, blah, blah. We attributed it all to daily life and work, family. And then he asks me, "Are you still married?" I say, "Of course." "Wait, if I'm not mistaken, you wed Olivia." I say, "What do you mean wed? I'm married to her now." He says, "Then I don't get what she was doing at Ruslin's country house on New Year's, on the May holidays, and a couple more times before New Year's." I say, "I don't understand." He replies, "My country house is in the same area as yours, but 300 meters further and diagonally across the road. That's the country house of my buddy Ruslin, and that's where I saw your wife. But since I don't know her personally, and I only recognize her from the photos on your page, I identified her. But they acted with each other as if they were spouses. I didn't think that Olivia had left you. I didn't pay attention, because everyone has their own life." After these words, it was as if I was shocked in the groin, heat underneath, and so on. Gathering my thoughts, checking the calendar for when she left, I had previously marked my business trips and trips to the country house in a diary, just out of habit, and some kind of early army romanticism, probably. How many days we were apart. And everything aligns exactly with the words of the mysteriously appeared classmate. But I didn't confront my wife empty-handed. Here you might say that I acted despicably. But when they tell me that it was necessary to verify, I checked the correspondence, everything that my wife had. Before that, I didn't even consider checking her phone, computers, and so on. So there it is, guys. There's no explicit description of intercourse, of course, but there are all the meeting points and passwords. Or rather, dates and times when I'm absent, when there are no parents, when there are no neighbors at the country house, so that they can't confirm whether she was at the country house or not. Correspondence before and after New Year's about how wonderful it is, and that everything planned will come to fruition. Only she doesn't know how to file for divorce, poor thing. Ensuring that the classmate isn't lying, I ask her directly, "Olivia, where were you for New Year's?" The answer is, "At the country house." The question is, at which one? Ours. And in the same vein, like, "What's wrong with you? What's gotten into you?" and so on. And then I give her a brief recap about her New Year's. And what do you think? I wanted to call an ambulance. This fact just knocked her off her feet. She felt so ill. I thought that was it. A heart attack. To say that she was in shock is an understatement. She was just in deep trouble. Bitter tears. She confessed. Says that she will never do it again. That only me. And that she is a fool, and so on. So what should I do? I don't know. Forgive and live with it. Live with the knowledge that I was deceived and betrayed, or just send her away and leave? Don't ask about the child now. The question is what to do with her. There is no trust, even though a month has passed, but I can't forgive. She embraces me, professes her love for me, makes plans and shares them with me. She wants a second child and so on. But when I picture that she was embraced, and not only that, and she too, I want to vomit. My spouse and I had been wedded for 8 years. Our daughter was 5 years old at the time. I was 33 and my wife was 32. We lived well, rarely quarreling. Naturally, there were disagreements. How could there not be? Generally, a tragedy occurred. My wife's very close friend succumbed to cancer. Prior to that, she requested my wife to care for her son. Her friend's husband worked on a rotational basis. He was away from home for a month and a half. My wife and I knew her friend's husband from the very start of their acquaintance. We attended their wedding, and my wife was even a witness. I didn't know them especially well. I didn't interact much. We visited them a few times. My wife communicated with her friend more frequently. She would visit us, then go to them. Neither the friend nor her husband had parents. The friend's parents passed away early, and the husband's mother also died about 10 years ago. They were distant relatives, but they declined to take the boy, and they resided in other cities. The friend's husband, needless to say, fully supported the child. If anything needed to be purchased, he always provided money without question, or bought it himself when he came. He brought his son numerous gifts. When required, he assisted me physically too. We looked after the boy, although he longed for his parents, especially his mother, naturally. I treated the child as my own, particularly since the children were the same age, with a difference of only 2 months. Our daughter was older. Generally, the boy gradually became accustomed to us. He and my daughter became friends immediately. After a month, they were inseparable. The child stopped missing them often, spoke less about his mother. Obviously, when the father came to rest, he always took his son to him. A year and a half passed like this. Everything was good. The boy sometimes even got confused, calling me Dad. I personally enjoyed it. And then once my wife tells me that we need to talk seriously. Well, I think if it's necessary, then it's necessary. My wife informed me that the boy's father wants to find a job here too. Like, why waste time in vain while resting? You can earn some money. But there's no one to watch his son, and he doesn't want to entrust the child to anyone else. So he asked our opinion on this matter. Of course, I said to my wife, won't the child become unused to his own father? My wife replied that she had already spoken with the child's father, and he responded that he agreed to even pay for the care. At the same time, he would take his son home for the night. Well, I think the boy doesn't bother me, as long as it's not difficult for my wife. She is primarily engaged with the children. I'm almost always at work. Moreover, the boy began to call me Dad more often, and he had long called my wife Mom. At first, my wife and I tried to explain it to him, but then we abandoned this idea, especially since the child was offended. Almost 3 years passed. The children were already like brother and sister, and most importantly, they lived very harmoniously. They went to the same school, to the 1st grade. It seems everything is fine. The boy's father took care of him. But more and more often the child refused to go to him, and I began to notice that my wife began to cool down in the relationship. It seems like nothing has changed. She always affectionately greeted me from work. Dinner was always ready. There was order at home. The children are also fine. But in the intimate sphere, yes, my wife was sometimes cold, or, on the contrary, overly active. Of course, I asked her if something was wrong, if something had happened to her. But my wife just said that she sometimes gets tired. It seems that everything went on as before. Once I came home much earlier, before lunch. I enter the house. My wife is all dressed up, made up, in a beautiful dress that she had worn only once, and which had been gathering dust in the closet for many years, in black stockings. I asked her what the occasion was. My wife said that she hadn't put on makeup for a long time, and then during the cleaning she pulled out her dress from the closet and decided to try it on. It turns out that the dress still fits her perfectly now. In fact, it was a rehearsal. She wanted to greet me from work in this form. I liked it very much. My wife looked just stunning. From that day on, my wife often met me wearing makeup, sometimes very sexily dressed. Why sometimes? You understand the kids. Everything began to fall apart after another year. I noticed that the boy began to withdraw into himself when left alone with his wife. No, he communicated normally when we were together. But as soon as I even went into another room, the child immediately fell silent. Once the son mysteriously said that he wants to tell me something, to me alone, without mom. And he told me everything. One day the other dad came to us. The daughter was at a friend's house. The boy's dad, having given him money, sent him to the store with video games to choose any game for himself. The store was closed, and the child returned home. Entering the house, he heard what a child should not hear yet, and then a naked mom came out of the room. In short, the wife and the second dad asked for a long time not to tell me anything, frightening that I would feel very bad if I found out. In the evening, when the children fell asleep, I called my wife to the kitchen. My wife was crying, asking not to divorce, saying that it was over, that they no longer meet since the very day when the son saw everything, that she loves the child as her own. All this, as it turned out, had been going on for the second year already. She doesn't know how it all happened. To the question of whether she loves him, she said no. She said that she loves only me. She understands that she made a huge mistake, that she is very sorry and will do everything possible to fix it. She apologized, said that everything suited her in our family, that she is very sorry that she had to deceive. She doesn't know why she didn't talk to me right away. I said that I could never forgive her and would file for divorce. And now the most important thing. After the court, the daughter was assigned to live with her mother, and we live with the son. After the divorce, he categorically refused to return to his own father. I want to adopt him. My daughter often visits us. They constantly communicate with my son. They often meet and keep in touch on social networks. My daughter says that her mother went to work, that she often cries and says that she loves me, and also that she misses her brother.